Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 4 of the DuckBoats podcast, coming to you on January 16th, 2025. Brett Newman, Logan Miller, and Matt Clayman with you. A bit of a shorter episode today, talking about some Celtics and Bruins. Celtics, obviously, tough loss last night. That was one of the worst watches of the season, easily. And Bruins, a bit of a, good couple two games versus the Florida teams, the Panthers down in Sunrise, and up here last game, 6-2 win versus the Lightning. And then some comments from management, Charlie Jacobs and Cam Neely came out the other day. So we'll get into a little bit of that. But first off, with the Celtics, again, tough lot, 110-97, the Toronto Raptors take down our beloved Celtics. And tough watch. I don't know if anyone's got some leadoff takes or anyone's coming in hot today.
Yeah, I'll go first. So they had an issue that they've also been struggling with all season. It's their open opportunities. They struggle to put them down. They can't hit their open shots. The defense lackluster. The transition defense was not good. They scored 18 points in transition. The offense, reason behind all the lackluster defense and the transition defense being as bad as it was, is because there was no offense. And how those two connect is they'd take a bad shot, they'd miss, and then they just, for some reason, didn't even want to get back on defense. Jaylen Brown might have played his worst game in his career last night. I genuinely don't know what he was doing. It was like he was running around on the court with his head cut off. Derek White, he's now on a heater of bad games, and I hate to see that from Derek White because I love watching him play basketball so much. But as of recent, he's been struggling, and last night even Scal brought it up. Like, they might have to have some hard conversations of maybe implementing Pritchard into the starting lineup. Get those guys that are playing hot right now, get them going in the starting lineup, and put maybe D. White on the bench, because he's had a stretch now in his last 4 games, including one last night. 6 points, 3 points, 0 points. He didn't play versus Denver. 11 points, and then that's pretty much the stretch he's been on. It's been a rough 4 games for Derek White, and they might, again, hard conversations they might need to bring up in the next few days. And they are also, one more point. With that loss last night, they are 5-5 with their full lineup playing. So something to keep in mind.
It's a good statistic. Where I'm at really is just, here's the thing with the Celtics. They're a very good team. We know that. They're coming off a championship. That's another thing. People came into the year wondering, with most championship teams, are they going to keep it up? Are they going to, falter and just get complacent? And I think we're seeing part of that right now in a January stretch where it's just, it's a long season. 82 games is a long season. They have not been, focus hasn't been there, especially on the defensive end. You talked about Jaylen Brown, Derek White. They have not been themselves, are just not playing well recently. Derek White lost his shot. Jaylen's been kind of a mess on defense. Tatum had 16 points last night. None of the starters had over 20 points last night, or had 20 points. So that's one thing that is not really acceptable. And Porzingis said after the game, he said, we played with no spirit, no personality, just a weak performance from us, honestly. And that's kind of how I felt watching the game. It was just pretty painful. It didn't seem like there was a lot of effort on defense. And another thing that stuck out is I think Missoula talked about sticking together, like in the post game. There's something a few weeks back from Derek White about that as well. So you wonder if any sort of thing is going on. I'm not going crazy with like turmoil in the locker room, all that stuff, but you just wonder if there's something, if players have an issue with something, say like Jaylen Brown not playing defense how we should, losing focus, whatever. But it's a few things that are put together and kind of resulted in the team not playing well and losing to under 500 teams. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. Not great.
Well, yeah, no, things are not Not going well for
There you go.
the Celtics there. Look, this rough stretch is, I think, a lot worse than a lot of people thought it was going to be. And, like I've said the last two times we talked about the Celtics, every good team has bad games and has bad stretches. But for the Celtics, this is basically unheard of. I mean, it's really just not good. I mean, Pritchard put up 20 points last night off the bench. Al put up 10. You've had, I believe that's 5 players going double digits, and you're still not even putting up 100 points against a really terrible
Bad.
Raptors team. And on the other hand, you have
10
the
wins.
entire starting. Whew, that's a lot worse than I thought. The entire starting 5 for the Raptors putting up double digits. 3 of them putting up over 15 points. And again, 10 wins. It's not a team that should be doing that to you. And in the past, the Celtics have had issues with teams that they're a lot better than. But now it just seems like they have issues with everybody. And that's just an issue that if we don't figure it out, we're gonna have a problem because like you guys have saying, the defense is very bad. It's just no hustle. There's no determination behind it. Like unlike when we saw last season when they were going after every loose ball, every rebound, like their life depended on it. And now it just seems like that's just not happening. I believe like a couple weeks ago they had like a players only meeting or something like that.
Yep.
If I'm right, and it didn't work. Either they got to have another one or something needs to change. I don't know, but right now things are not looking good. And I know we were talking about when it's time to get nervous, but last night kind of stuck out to me a little bit. I'm a little nervous as a Celtics fan now.
Yeah.
It's getting a little bit questionable, and I think that as they go throughout the season, maybe they need a break. Maybe when the All-Star break comes around, they'll figure something out because we've seen teams do that in the past. We could have like an energy is about to shift type deal again. And right now I think the energy needs to shift in order for them to even have a chance at winning the Eastern Conference.
I have to cut you off for this. I just saw this. This is bad. Wow. Jaylen Brown this is the lowest 3-point percentage of his career right now as this is going on. Lowest 2-point percentage since 2017-18 season. And he has the 3rd worst true shooting percentage.
Wow.
So I had to cut you off because I needed to get that out.
All good. Yeah, that basically explains what you just said was basically the recap of how the entire season is going for this entire team. And I'm actually going to go after Sam Hauser here as well because last year he was very consistent and we haven't talked about him much. Yeah. And this year he lost his shot. To me, he was like the first one to really lose his shot, and then the team followed after him. He needs to get it together as well because that really decreases the amount of depth this team really has when last year they had to look at everybody who could shoot a 3 and hit it. Now they're looking at, all right, 1 guy, 2 guys on the bench can maybe hit a 3 from time to time, and the starters can't put anything together.
Yeah, Sam Hauser, I believe, shot over 40% from 3. I think that's dipped down to 38%. So it's somewhere in that ballpark, which, if you think about it, that's not bad. 38%, it's not terrible. But with how Sam Hauser is known for being a 3-point shooter, that's a huge drop off from going over 40% to like 38. I'm looking it up as I'm saying this, by the way. So this season, 37% from 3 this year. And I just want to look at last year. He was from 3, 42% from 3 last season. So that's
different
math here. 5%. That's a 5% drop off in 3s. And Brett, like you said, they looked to him off the bench last year. He was their 3-point shooting off the bench. They looked for him, and he brought us momentum off the bench. He almost broke the 3-point record last year. But yeah, that's also been one of the. He's also struggled. He's had some back issues this season too, so he's been in and out of the lineup as well. And I think that's also another thing that players have been in and out of the lineup where that wasn't really an issue last year. The really only player that wasn't playing consistently was Porzingis last year. And I guess Al Horford because they were resting him.
Yeah. I mean, I've got some 3-point percentage numbers in the last few games, and yeah, it just kind of tells you how things have been going for the team. Last night, not too bad. I mean, 34.8%. Game before that, 29.5. Game before that was 26.8, 34.3, and 19.6. I believe that was the OKC game. So it's just not the level that they've been at. Even earlier in the season, but especially when you go back to last year and you take a look at some of the guys and their shooting numbers. So it's all piled together, and they just keep shooting threes. They're near 53s a game for most games. So it's nothing's really changing too much, and I think that's part of the issue. They're not making too much of an adjustment in an effort to really trying to change.
They don't have a
how
backup
they
plan.
play.
There's no backup plan. They still haven't adjusted to when they're struggling from three. They
don't change.
They were they shot 39% from the field last night, 34% from the three, which isn't terrible, but they made 36 shots total. 16 of those were three-pointers. So they made 20 shots last night outside from the three-point. That's an issue. Mm-hmm. That's an issue. There needs to be a backup plan. When you have a 6'8" power forward on your team that can score from any position or any place on the court, and you're just having him take threes the whole game. He shot 9 threes last night. He's taking 10 threes a game. He should not be doing that. Put him, have him attack. Him and Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, that's probably one of his best points. Jaylen Brown, his game is mid-range and attacking the basket. That's how, and that's how he's been the player for the Celtics to get us going in the first, because they have him start from the mid-range and then have him attack. That's why he gets 12 points or something like that in the first quarter. He had 10 last night. I don't know.
They're frustrating right now.
It is frustrating. They're trying to get the three-pointers going early. It's not working, but instead of fixing it, they're just going to continue to shoot threes. It's 3 after 3 after 3, and when they're hitting it, all right, they're going to blow the team out by.
Great.
They did it last year. When they weren't hitting their threes, they lost. But now they're doing it more consistently. They've done it all season now, where they've struggled to hit threes. But they're not doing anything about it. They're continuing to just shoot, and now they've also had a problem where the second half has been horrible for them. They scored 15 points in the fourth quarter last night, compared to the Raptors 22. They got outscored by the Raptors in both the third and fourth quarter.
And in the third, the Raptors just couldn't miss. The defense was just awful.
Miss. Yeah.
Scotty Barnes, this guy.
And it's not like the Raptors had that good of a fourth quarter. The Raptors in the fourth quarter only scored 22 points. And the Celtics were not losing by that much entering the fourth quarter. They were not losing by that much. And another stat, actually. Last night, the usages per player, Derek White, 27%, Jaylen Brown, 26%, Jason Tatum, 21%. The Celtics are 3-5 on the season when Tatum has a usage lower than 27%. Tonight's 21.2% usage is the lowest mark of the season for Tatum, and it ends in a loss for the Toronto Raptors. It got to a point also last night where Tatum was forcefully subbing himself in, because he had a bad night, but it was like everyone was playing worse somehow. And Tatum had a really bad night, but somehow it was the only players that really played better than he did was Porzingis and Pritchard. That was it. And Porzingis too, coming alive now. That's great. We need that from him. He's been playing great for them.
Yep.
Right now, yeah.
What are you saying? What are you gonna say, Matt?
Another thing that people I've seen more and more. Well, this is what happens when you lose. People start to criticize everything. They look at everything. Trade everyone, fire the coach, blah blah blah. But something smaller is just people have criticized Missoula for not starting Tatum off in the fourth quarter, and the fourth quarters have not been good recently at all. And that's something they've been doing for most of the season, but.
Yeah,
people don't like to see that, and these things stick out more when you're losing. It's just why is he not starting off? Then the team goes downhill and they don't recover, and it's just more things you're talking about. And when you don't see that when the team is, flying high and hitting threes every night, but when you lose like this, these things start to stick out more, and you wonder if it's going to be enough this year. And here's where I'm at. Really, is the point. I think if it's still like this after the All-Star break, there'll be a bit of more concern from my end. I think it's not good right now. Terrible to watch, but it's just that's what you're gonna say something.
It's just Twitter is a funny place, you know. Last night watching the game, I'm just seeing trade Jaylen Brown, and even this morning, trade Jaylen Brown, trade Jaylen Brown, trade Derek White, and I'm like, are we serious? Are we serious?
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Like,
that's crazy.
I want Jimmy. That's people.
Like, yes, this roster is supposed to be playing good. We're still 28-12. Yeah, we're not playing like it. We're still the second seed in the East.
You wouldn't think so, looking at what people say.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't. With how Celtics Twitter has reacted, you would not think that the Celtics are 28-12. You would think that we're the Raptors right now with only 10 wins on the season. You would think that. But I think what comes with that is there's just been a lack of adjustments. And I think that's what's mainly getting like fans upset, is that they're doing the same things. Yeah, it's the same thing every night. When it works, it works. But when it doesn't work, we're like, it's the same issues. Like, there's nothing. There's never been a backup plan. But
yeah,
what up?
I mean, I just kind of feel like the adjustments are right in front of you, though. If you're not shooting threes, crash the interior. They have enough guys where it'll work. You know, like, I just don't understand why they haven't really transitioned to that, because when they do that, they score pretty well. I mean, a lot more efficiently, at least on their takes. Is they're making more than they're missing when they try to do that. Obviously, you know, shoot a three here and there, but their entire game plan right now is just shooting threes, and it's just not working. Plain and simple. And, you know, if they work more interior and force open looks, maybe they can get their shot back up. But right now, they can win just by simply looking for the twos and then taking the threes if they get them. But they're forcing a lot right now.
The thing is, though, they're getting a lot of open looks, though. They're getting plenty of open looks. It's they can't make them. And I don't know what it is. I genuinely do not know what it is. I don't know. Tatum would have had 40 assists last night if any Celtic could knock down a shot. But that's I don't know what it is. It's what Matt said. It's frustrating because a team structured the way the Celtics are structured should not be struggling the way they've been struggling. It's what it is.
Yeah, well, we're how they're still second how they're still second in the East, and
okay, this needs to be
hold on. Okay,
this is a future short.
How they're second in the East, and the thing is, yeah, they can have their great record. They're not playing like it, but I think the fans have a little bit of a reason to freak out. Not at the pace it's going, but you keep playing like this, you're just gonna keep falling further and further in the Knicks are right behind you, and you know you just can't deal with it. And it's really just because the thing is, the standard here is just so high. You're good every year. You're guaranteed most years to make the Eastern Conference Finals. This year, I don't know. I think I could see them getting out in the second round this year if they keep playing like they are. First round, they shouldn't have a problem. Second round is when I'd be nervous. No matter who they play, they're gonna be in a tough spot if it's going like this. Now, if they get hot again and shoot the way they're supposed to, we're going to go to the finals. No questions asked. But I just think that the standard's really high here, and
especially after last year.
Yes. Because the thing is, we win the championship, and we're all thinking, it's time to repeat. I mean, because it looked like nobody could stop them. And now the one thing that can stop them is themselves.
So I'm going to read off stats from comparing this season to last season for the Celtics. Points per game, 117.5. That's this year. Last year, it was 120.6. They were second in the league last year. They're fourth in the league right now. Field goal percentage, 45.7 to last year's 48.7. They were seventh last year. They're 18th this year. I don't know what OFG percentage is. What does that even mean? It said
I'm not-
OPPG and OFG percentage. I don't know what that is. Is
I have
that
no idea.
is
that just
they
offensive
play. That's when they're off the court,
off court?
according to Google.
What does
So-
that mean?
Is
I
that
don't know how I don't know how that would work considering.
all right? So
I
I'll
think it's
just
just an on-off statistic.
so I'll leave that out. 3-point
Good support
percentage.
argument.
3-point percentage. This year 36.2 to last year's 38.8. They were second in the league last year. They're 15th this year. Which honestly, if 36.2% is 15th in the league, I don't know. 3-pointers made 714 this year. That's the most in the NBA. 1,351 first, and that was in there. That was last year. But of course, 3-pointers made you can't really make a comparison to that now because we still have 4 more months left. 3-pointers attempt, I guess you could. Okay, yeah, we can do this now. 49.3. That's the most in the NBA to 42.5 last year.
That's a big one.
That's a big one. Okay. And then what is this? No, we're not doing that stat. Free throw percentage. Do we care about free throw percentage or no?
Eh,
It's 78.8 this year to 80.7 last year.
all right.
They're 9th this year. They were 7th last year.
Close enough.
True shooting percentage. This year it's 58.7. They're 8th in the NBA. Last year it was 60.9. They were 1st in the NBA.
True shooting.
Assists, there's really not that much of a difference. They're 25.4. They're 17. They're 17th in the league right now. Last year is 26.9. They were 14th. There's not that much of a difference there. Steals, they have more steals than last year. 7.5 this year to 6.8 last year. Rebounds, 45.1 rebounds this year to 46.3 last year. Last year they were 2nd in the league. This year they're 9th in the league. This year they averaged the 2nd least amount of turnovers in 11.5 to last year 11.3. So they're not turning the ball over, which is good. Because they're second least this year to least last year. So I guess that's good. And all right. Yeah. So
That's pretty much it.
I mean, there's really not that much to take away from that, except for the 3-point percentage and 3-point attempts, because they're taking 7 more attempts a game.
Yeah, that feels about right.
That's actually insane. They're taking about 53s a game. Yeah, they just keep chucking. That's I don't know, man.
They're going in there with the idea of eventually one of them's gonna go in.
Yeah.
Ain't working.
That's how they
It's just
think.
not working. That's how they think, but
I want to go
It's
into
doable.
we're going back into recent games now. So when they beat the Pelicans the other night, they didn't even shoot the ball well versus the Pelicans, but they barely won. They barely
could've
won.
lost easily.
Especially what happened at the end of the game. They could have lost. They shot 29.5% from the 3 that game. The Pelican on 13 they went 13 for 44 from 3. The Pelicans went 17 for 37 from 3 that game. So you can shoot not as many threes, but if you make them, you're golden. But I think it's
Yep.
I think it's just with them, it's just you just got to keep on chucking them up, and if they go in, you're gonna win by 30, which has happened. That happened 100 times last year. It's happened a few times this year. But now this is where the adjustment part comes into play, because they've struggled to make them, and there's no backup plan. Like, they need to fall on a backup plan, which
Keep shooting.
Yep.
That's the backup plan.
and I mentioned this earlier. Get Jaylen Brown going in the mid-range early. He's been their first quarter preference for the past 2 years. Like, they need to get him involved. They just mid-range and then go into the threes later. Because usually what happens is in the first quarter, Jaylen Brown goes crazy in the first, and then a lot of attention will go to him. And then that's when you get the other players involved. That's when players like Tatum get involved. You get Derek White or Drew Holiday, Porzingis. And that's also something that they haven't really been doing is the switching. You get Porzingis switched and get him in a mismatch. That draws the double. And then they haven't really been doing that much. That's something that I especially noticed in the playoffs last year when Porzingis was playing. Is that, especially in the Miami series, when Porzingis was a huge part in that, where it was had you get the switch and you have the mismatch, and then they kick it out. It's an open three. Now they were making them last year. Now who knows? Maybe if they do that more with Porzingis, and I guess Porzingis also hasn't really been playing that much this season, so I don't know. It's unpredictable. When's their next game?
This team.
Saturday. Oh, wait, what's today? Today Thursday?
Yes.
Today's Thursday.
So tomorrow at 7 p.m. Friday, 7 p.m. versus the Magic.
Oh, dear.
Versus the Magic. A really good defensive team.
I don't like that. I don't like that spot.
A very good defensive team.
Last time the Celtics played the Magic, they lost 108-104, which was, kind of the beginning of their cold streak. I mean, really, the game against Memphis broke them, so to speak, because since then they really haven't recovered. I mean, with losses, back-to-back losses from Orlando, and then the Sixers on Christmas, and then, we're here now. I mean, they lost to OKC, which is acceptable, I guess. That team's really good, but now we're falling into teams that aren't good that we're losing to. And, I think...
Since the beginning of December, really.
I think what this team needs, honestly, is just a good game, like a really good game. Like, for example, let's use the Sixers game, a game like that, but they pull out with a win. Maybe that can get them some sort of confidence, because I think that's a big part of what they're lacking, because they just can't hit them. And I mean, if you don't hit them, you lose confidence.
The funny thing is, if you look at the stats comparing the Celtics and the Magic, the Celtics clear them. The Celtics are clearing them in every stat right now. But when it comes to recently, it's a whole different story. Like, I need stats for like the past month on their percentages and all that. Like, I need stats from the past month because they started the season off really good. The first like month and a half was great, and I guess when we got to around like December, like the first month and a half, that's when it started going downhill. But you look at when you compare the Celtics and the Magic, the Magic are only averaging 104.5 points per game as an offense. That's 30th in the NBA right now. Their 3-point percentage is 30%. They're not a good 3-point shooting team. Where's field goal percentage? Okay, they have a higher field. Wait, no, we beat them in field goal percentage too. So like on paper, and you look at the stats, you would think, oh, this is going to be such an easy win for the Celtics. You'd be wrong. Because we need a player like Derek White to get his shot back. So at some point, he needs to get going. And that might even be something that Joe Mazzulla will need to implement in his game plan. Is get one of these players that have been struggling. Whether that's even you start Pritchard and you get Derek White off the bench. Whether that's you either get Derek White off the bench and you run something for him early. Get his shot going early. Or even if he's starting, Get him going early. Get these players that have been struggling going early, especially Jaylen Brown. I'll mention this for the 50,000th time. Get him going in the mid-range early. That's the bread and butter. He's the first quarter guy on the team. You get him going early, and then other players like Tatum and hopefully like Derek White can follow. And that was their bread and butter last year. They haven't done it this year. I don't know what's going on with that. Did I leave you guys speechless after that rant?
I mean,
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I said everything.
I think honestly, I could have just said that at the beginning, and then we could have just moved on. Probably. I don't know. I don't know what happened. That part just kind of clicked.
All right. I think we're good now.
We're kind of just
Speaking of moving on.
speaking of moving
You
on.
go ahead. You can intro.
Are the mid-tier Bruins on the rise?
Probably not. I like what I saw out of them versus the Lightning. That was actually a huge game for them, by the way. Like in the playoff race, that was massive. You know what else is massive? Anyways.
No.
Oh. Whoa.
You mean low?
Oh.
No.
Anyway.
Shut up and
All right.
keep
Oh.
talking.
All right. Anyways.
Enough.
So, Bruins
Bad.
get a nice 6-2 win, and Swayman saved them. Swayman finally showed what he needed to show, and I liked what I saw. Now, the fact that he saved them isn't good. I mean, it's good for him, but for the team, not really. I mean, it's good that, he showed that he can, but that also shows that the defense is an issue. I mean, it's been all year, but this time Swayman showed up, and their offense clicked all night. They generated nice open shots, and they were scoring goals. 6-2 against the Lightning. That's pretty good. Are we back? Probably not, but I could. That's a big confidence booster for them, and I could see that maybe leading to a nice hot streak or something like that. But that'd be a stretch. But I liked what I saw. Go Bruins.
Go
We're
Bees.
still in the playoffs. We're barely in the playoffs, but we're still in it. So let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, they're first in the wild card right now, 49 points. The Lightning have a few games in hand on us, so yeah, that was a big game for us. They'll still have their chance to, make up those points, but I'm feeling a little bit better, I'll say. Two recent good wins against, the Panthers and Lightning. It seems the team got a good boost from the young players, and Matty Potter coming back, and this kid Callahan from Franklin, I guess. Who knows? He's from Providence, but he's from Franklin, so that's a little bit interesting, I'd say. I still don't think they're playing all that different. I mean, they're getting outshot like crazy. They gave up 45 shots to the Lightning, 43 to the Panthers. If you combine those two, they've been outshot 88-42 in the last two games, which is still not better. They're giving up a ton of shots. So, I mean, the last game was good because they were efficient with the shots they got. We scored 6 goals, 2 of those being empty netters, but that's beside the point. Pasternak's been playing a little bit better, which has been a big issue all year. We've been missing that goal scoring from him. He's not been the same guy we saw last year. I'm glad to see he's kind of waking up a little bit. It's been about time, midway through the season. But like Brett said, we don't know if they're back. They're it's a good streak. They've done this all year. Won a couple games, lose a couple. When they lose, they lose bad. It's just you get blown out. It's just like, whoa, you just got set back like a few steps. So you hope that they can use some of this momentum and move on. Beating those two good teams. But so what was the question? Are they on the rise? I would say they're on the rise to a point. They're climbing up the mountain like at a very slow pace, but that's where I am.
I'm not convinced. They're doing exactly what a mid team would do. They'll win. They'll go on a little 2-game winning streak, and then they might they're playing Ottawa on Saturday. There's a chance they could win that game.
It's a huge game for them too. Ottawa's only 2 points behind them.
Ottawa, they could be Ottawa, but then I could also see Ottawa actually spanking them and beating them 4-1. That's the possibilities. But then there's the chance that the Bruins could beat them 4-1. I don't know. Also, a little Omar and Swayman reunion too.
Pot two
reunion. But I think that will be a good game. That might even be a test almost to see kind of where they're at. I think because I would say they're on the even side. Those two, I would say they're even-ish. Those two teams, the Senators and the Bruins, I would say they're even in a sense. So, and yeah, like I said, it could be a good test for them to see where they're at and where they're moving forward.
Well, speaking of tests, this stretch is really important for them. So they got the Senators, big game, only 2 points behind. The Sharks, who they should beat, they're last in their division. Then you have the Devils, followed by the Senators again. Those are all teams in a pretty tight playoff race. And right now, you just kind of hope that they stay strong. Because if they can stay strong through these next 4 or 5 games, because after they have the Avalanche, so maybe 4 or 5 games. I know I was asking a lot, but even then, they'll be in good shape in the playoffs. Right now, I think the goal is just to slip in to the playoffs.
At least good enough shape, yeah.
And I think that maybe as long as you don't lose outright, maybe an overtime loss is fine because you get a couple points there.
They always lose in overtime, so that wouldn't be a shock.
Yeah.
I think you nailed it, Brett. I think their game against the Senators, that's a team that's a team in the race. Devils, that's a team in the race. Senators again, that's a team in the race, and then Avalanche, a better team in the race. But yeah, that stretch, that's where you align with other teams that are in the same position as you. A team can in the hunt, in the race, and if they perform well in that stretch, I think then we can circle back to this question, because I think right now this question.
Yeah.
I don't look at them any differently, because even like you said earlier, Matt, they're getting outshot. Whatever you said, I forgot the number you said.
88-42 in the last 2 games.
Yeah, so that's half. That's half, pretty much.
Over half, yeah.
Yeah, over half of the amount of shots they've taken. So, again, it's gonna come down to this stretch of games and how they perform. If they perform well, I'll change my mind. But until then, honestly, those last 2 games against the Panthers and Lightning, that could have just been luck that they were able to get those opportunities to go.
Panthers one, definitely.
Yeah.
If we watch the end of the game, that was very lucky shot.
Yes, exactly. That
very, very lucky.
But that also could be the start to the Bruins going forward. Maybe that deflected shot was a cry for a new beginning for the Bruins. I don't know. I just came up with that on the fly, but
yeah. Here's where I'm at. Well, there's been these couple of quotes given out from ownership in the past couple of days. I don't know where exactly it's at. I looked it up. I believe it was the Black and Gold Gala. So some Bruins, very nice occasion there. I think there was a lot of alumni at that, I believe, but that's beside the point. They had Neely and Jacob speak at that. Neely was talking about preparing for 2 paths when they were asking about the trade deadline and where the club was in the standings would dictate that, which, is reasonable for any GM to talk about, but not from the Bruins recently. They really just, you go back the past, at least, I don't know, feel like 5, 6, 7, 8, that amount of years, they're always pushing for the playoffs. And it's not something you've seen recently, either thinking about selling off parts or any part of the core. They never do that at the trade deadline. They're always buying. So this will be interesting coming down the stretch. And then they talked to Charlie Jacobs, where he said, this is a direct quote. He said, I have faith that he's talking about Sweeney and Neely, that they'll make the right decisions. I don't have the playbook for that. I have faith that they will make those decisions. That's from Connor Ryan. But so they don't seem to be giving either way right now. They're not saying they're going to do this, they're going to do that. They're waiting it out. So, like you guys talked about, this stretch coming up, and, as we get closer to the deadline, it'll be very important to dictate what happens. And if it goes south, I feel like a lot of things are on the table with this team, because something's got to change if it doesn't. So that's where I'm at.
all right.
Yeah, you guys said it basically.
Yeah.
You guys want to say something?
Actually, I want to add in another topic, a Patriots topic, actually. So this probably won't be a long one. It will just be probably a little discussion between the 3 of us on where we stand with this. Because Burt Breer came out with something about free agents not wanting to come to New England. He said New England is one of the least attractive destinations for free agents. It's Buffalo without Josh Allen. It's Green Bay before Brett Favre. Millionaires tax, cold weather, and no players are from here. So, and I guess we can go with this topic. With now Drake May and Mike Vrabel and the amount of cap space that they have, no free agents knowing the amount of cap space that this team has, does that make it an attractive destination for free agents this season?
I think it does. I just think that they have a lot going for them, and the pieces, like it's like how a bunch of coaches wanted to come here. I think it's the same idea. There's a reason why they wanted to come here, and those are the exact reasons why. And I think that can go for players, maybe not on the same scale. They can't come here and say the New England's the best market, but they can come here and say that this team has a great future ahead of itself if they can get the right pieces. And, we'll see. They have a lot of money, so they can, overpay a couple guys if necessary, T. Higgins and guys like him who are kind of vital in this search, honestly, because besides him, there's not really a true wide receiver one out there. And I think that with a new coach who is already established, you're not going into it wondering if Mayo is going to be a good coach. Vrabel, there's guys in the league who know how Vrabel coaches, and everyone knows he's a good coach and a good locker room guy. And with the money, you got, you can put pieces around Drake May, who you clearly have to build around. And we already know he's good too. Now it's just a matter of getting the pieces around him. And I think a lot of guys around the league will see that and say, you know what, maybe I'll take a chance coming here for a year, testing it out, and, hopefully sign an extension later on if they need to.
Yeah. I mean, do I think that they have the greatest perception in the league right now? No, I don't. I do not think it's ideal for, signing a bunch of free agents is what you want to do this season. I think Vrabel definitely helps. I think just having him as the head of the organization and, when you have Drake May and you have all the cap space, you're going to have to throw money at them. It is what it is. You put yourself in this spot. The place they've been in the last few years of just, sucking, quite frankly, and just kind of being a mess. I know that has to get around to players that have gone other spots or they have to gear things between players. But they definitely have the chance to change that. I don't think it's as bad now as where they were at the end of the season with Gerard Mayo. I don't know who would want to come here into that situation, but I think it's going to be better now. They're still going to have to probably overpay, but they definitely have a chance to make this team a lot better, and I don't want this to be an excuse.
Do you think there's a chance that they trade for AJ Brown?
A slim one.
I didn't think so at the beginning, but I feel like it's a little bit more likely.
I think with how I think if the Eagles lose, it will be interesting to see. I think depending on how that all pans out, I think we can come back to that question. Because I think
that's definitely something we can look at. I think that if the Eagles lose this weekend, there's a higher possibility for sure.
And also, if they lose, and how effective was AJ Brown in the offense?
Yes.
I think that's a big thing to look at. Because if AJ Brown was on the Patriots, he would get 10 targets a game. At minimum. Because who else would you throw the ball to? You might have a few dump-off plays to Booty or Douglas. But other than those two, who's getting the ball?
Austin Hooper.
Honestly, he wasn't that bad.
My guy.
He wasn't that bad. But
He's good.
That's my stance on it. But then again, it kind of stinks that there's really, since it's the offseason. I also, last thing before we'll probably hop off, is the fact that there's no news coming out with offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. I think that just says something that they're taking. They're not going to rush this. They're going to take their time and find the right guy for the job. That's where I see it as, because it was pretty much the day after Mayo got fired. It was, we're going to interview. We already put in a request to interview Ben Johnson or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, because that was the first guy.
Well, yeah. The thing is, they said that they were just going to do a search, so I think it's just going to take more time. And I don't think we're going to get as much big news as often as we were obviously hoping, because it gives us something to talk about. But
Yeah.
I think we just got to kind of be patient. I mean, we know, who the answer is going to be most likely already. So
Yeah. All right. Well, that's probably gonna do it. There really was not that much newsworthy things to talk about since our last episode was on Tuesday.
yes,
So yeah, nothing has really.
It's been 2 days.
Or I guess unless if we want to talk about the Boston media bashing Drake May for
Felga.
Felger. For bashing
just
Drake May for not being at the 30-minute press conference for Mike Vrabel. Unless we have some thoughts on that, that's pretty much the only thing I can really think of at the top of my head.
I mean,
I didn't even know they were
this.
bashing him.
Oh yeah, no, it
watching
was
this yesterday,
it was bad, dude.
and the day before, that's when he started talking about
Yeah.
it, and there was just a little bit of discussion. You could tell it was a little bit heated at the end with him and Murray going up against each other. Well,
Yeah, for once
Uh,
Murray was on.
he's
Yeah, he was
stood up for him.
he stuck up for. If Murray is sticking up for Drake May, you're in the wrong.
Brett, have you heard this at all?
No,
Felger
well,
was basically saying he's the franchise quarterback. He should have been there. Well, why weren't other captains like Hunter Henry or Jawan Bentley? Those are two big parts of the team. Why weren't they at the press conference?
I
yeah,
think it was David
exactly.
Andrews and Joe Cardona who were
Yeah.
the only two there.
Yeah.
But yeah, the big thing was really just he was complaining that the face of the quarterback should be there. It'd be good to see your face of the quarterback at the press conference, and then knowing that we now know he was on vacation and was proposing to his girlfriend. So that's when people got really pissed off because then he stayed on his point and said you know what?
He
I don't
could-
care. I would go back to work the next day.
He would
How about a play and go home?
he would. I would have just went back on the I would have came back and I would have after the press conference I would have went back on the plane and went back and proposed to my girlfriend.
There's
You just
well, is
sound
there
like
really,
an idiot.
It's was there a set date that you have to propose to your girlfriend? Is there a date? Can you just push it to the next couple days?
It's like you gotta come on. It's romantic. You gotta pump
he
it up a
doesn't
few
do like
days in
that.
advance. Well, yeah, clearly
doesn't like
Felger
that.
is not a
It's a
very
robot.
clearly Felger is not that much of a romantic. Drake is clearly a romantic because it was probably a few days leading up to it. But
Yeah, so I don't know. That got people outraged. I mean, it's just a Felger
stupid.
take.
There's also a chance that Drake talked to Vrabel, and Vrabel
don't
was
know.
like,
Yeah, just
"No,
yeah.
enjoy your time. When you come back, we'll get to work." That might have been a discussion. Again, we don't know, but that could have been a very likely discussion that happened. But because Drake doesn't seem like the type of guy that would just go ghost for a few days. That was the reason. He was clearly locked in, trying to getting ready to propose to his girlfriend. He was clearly locked in on that.
Yeah, we don't have an issue with this whatsoever. We're being people.
We have an issue. We have an issue with Felger making it an issue.
Yes.
That's the issue.
That's the issue we have is
Felger making it an issue. Because it's stupid. It's a stupid issue because they clearly had nothing else to talk about with the Patriots because there's no other news and they have a
Nothing else to
4-hour
talk about.
show that they have to cover something.
You know what though? I have now respect for radio shows that have to go 4 hours long every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, no.
When we do 1 hour, and sometimes it's tough to come up with things like today. And they have to go 4 hours, and that's where you come up with crazy stuff like that. So
Honestly, I thank them for giving us that extra topic because that just added on another 5 minutes for us. So
There we go.
thanks,
we needed that,
Felger.
but
Thanks, Felger.
Thank Felga. No problem.
One more refresh on Twitter, unless any breaking news happened. Nothing. Or I guess
Mm.
I don't know. Bill Belichick, I guess his contract hasn't even been signed yet.
Oh, that's interesting.
That is interesting, but I don't feel like talking about that. So,
Yeah,
all right.
that's good.
Anything else you want to add in? Could it be about Bruins, Celtics, Patriots?
I got nothing.
I think I'm good.
Good?
I think we
Good?
got it out.
Yeah.
We cleansed the body. Good.
Hey, this will be our shortest episode. 50
Let's
minutes.
go.
50
Wow.
minutes. We
Wow.
went under an hour.
Efficient.
Let's go. We're doing a lot better.
Yeah. But hopefully more people stayed to watch this episode because it was a lot shorter. And if you did watch this whole episode, thank you so much for watching. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next episode, which will be on either Monday, Tuesday, whatever we come up with that.
Next week.
Next week. We'll see you.
There we go.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. Yeah. See you next
All
week.
right.
Thank you for watching.